Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber to better understand their audience and turn them into loyal customers. Every week, Danny Wolf has brutally honest conversations with busy tech buyers about what really motivates them, the things they hate that vendors do, and what you can do about it. Get access to practical information on how to build authentic relationships with your audience. Listen to and talk with your buyers, and apply real customer insights to your strategies and tactics. You owe it to the world to unmute your mic. Are you ready?
All right, here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Audience First. Another gem of an episode this is going to be. I have my crew here, the troublemakers. We're going to talk about everything RSA, post-RSA, actually, the good, bad, the ugly. We have the other George on, actually the one who got us up early in the morning last time, but never showed, which was good. I'm going to give you flack for that, George. But it's good to have you here. How's everybody doing after RSA? Are they recovered? Are they fully back to energy, 100% battery?
For the most part.
No, not there.
For the most part. Chase is like, no.
No.
I'm just glad I didn't come back with some sort of a RSA ailment that we usually
That's
get.
true. Yeah, the funk at least was not there. So, well, not that funk. There was other funk, but
Yeah, maybe it's because they had
heard,
it later. They had it later this year, right? When they used to have it in February, everyone got sick.
that's a good point.
Maybe. I heard a new term, conflu.
Pretty good. Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds right.
I never heard conflu before.
It's a thing.
But yeah, I liked it. For those of you who don't know who these fine gentlemen are on this session, intros, please, by all means. We didn't do that last time. We just kind of dug in. So how about we just go around the table?
That's the best way.
We've all got a lot to say. Just
all right, let's
skip the funny business, get to it.
All right, let's go around. Elliot, how about you start? Tell me a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, sure. I am the producer for Adopting Zero Trust. And I also work for a company called Drano that focuses on GRC. There was a lot of that discussed at RSA. So I have a lot of opinions there.
All right, GK.
George Comedy, co-host of Bare Knuckles and Brass Tacks, nonprofit executive director at Mind Over Cyber, and a new announcement coming, but it is not public yet. So stay tuned.
All right, Chase.
Chase Cunningham. I work at G2, and I stole one of Elliot's hats.
Hey, you earned
I
that.
just
hat.
noticed
Thank
that.
you
That's
very much.
awesome.
Yeah, we're Twinkies. Isn't that special?
All right,
I
Clark.
am Clark Barron, CEO of Ronin and host of Demand Gen Therapy. And I am one of the few that did not make it out to RSA, but I've got plenty of tales watching it from this side unfold on LinkedIn. That was a sight to see in and of itself.
All right, we're definitely going to dig into that. That's super compelling to me. We have some juicy questions here. For those who don't know me, Danny Wolf, CEO of Audience First, VP Marketing of the Cybernest, newly minted. Pretty stoked about that. We'll get into that on a later episode. But let's go. So, for those of you who went to the conference, expectations: did it meet it? Did it not? How did the experience compare?
There were hella more people than there have been the last few years, which was good and bad, super crowded, but it was nice to see San Francisco feel like pre-COVID. And I actually heard that from a lot of people on the street, the hotel staff, restaurateurs, like everyone was like, oh, this feels like alive again, which was really nice to see. Let's see, other expectations. I don't know. I've been to RSA 6 times, so I sort of know what to expect more or less. I will say one thing, and I'm sure we're going to get into it. I expected AI all the things, and I was actually stunned at it was not that.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that.
Yeah, it was.
I agree.
All right.
I'll say from the vendor side, it's probably like 1 in 5 very specifically put AI on all their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a few just egregious abuses of it where like it didn't say even what their company is. It's just AI crapola. And then I did a breakdown of these sessions. I think there was like 120, 130 out of the 400 plus sessions that very specifically focused on AI. from the content perspective, there was a lot of that. But
Yeah.
I'll give vendors credit. It was like 1 in 5. It wasn't as bad.
What do you think that can be attributed to?
All right.
That's curious. Like, because it seems like
it's
everyone thought
overcorrection.
that. So is everybody just playing it safe?
Well, I think everyone was like, "Oh, we're not going to stand out ever." I think it was just overcompensation, which is, I guess, good. And I think everyone anticipated a lot, and so they pulled back a little bit. I actually know a startup founder who is a former artificial intelligence PhD candidate, and he invented something so badass that his university was like, "You need to quit your PhD, and we'll spin this out as a startup." So he's like got legit street cred, and it's amazing. And he told me he doesn't say AI in any of his pitches because if he does, no one takes him seriously. So he's had to like just develop a different way to talk about the machine learning models he uses without. It's like a landmine now. He's like, he can't say it even though he has actual AI.
Dude needs to come put on a clinic
Oh my
for
gosh.
some of these marketing teams on how to do that.
Chase, you had a little bit of insight, didn't you?
I mean, San Francisco was still like The Walking Dead, like being on set for that piece. I had more than one encounter with someone that was talking to themselves or me or like, I don't know.
Both.
Yeah. The really weird thing for me too, in walking around San Francisco is I can't tell if they're bonkers or high or just on a business call because everybody's talking kind of to themselves. And now with wireless earphones, you just walk around and there's 1,000 conversations of people.
Yes.
And I'm just sitting there going like, is this a meth conversation or is this an actual business thing? Because
Both.
some of them I couldn't tell the difference.
Sometimes it both. Yeah. Some could.
I mean,
both.
meth probably makes business go faster.
Yeah.
I guess like meth motivation. I don't know. Is that a thing?
I will say,
Yeah,
I woke
it-
up at 5 a.m. to get a video and some photos of like the sunrise for the little mashup thing that I created. There was only one homeless person there, but they did ruin the experience because they started just screaming into the ocean with some racist remarks. I'm just like, can you just chill, man? I'm like here for an hour, just trying to like
the only
relax
person
before the
out
craziness.
there. Just
Yeah. Right.
wow.
Yeah,
You're talking
just
to the
two of
ocean.
us. Yeah, screaming at the ocean, not talking.
Can't even get decent B-roll.
The
without
ocean knows what
racism
it
coming
did.
into it.
The ocean is known for its racism. So
That is true. That is true.
what the fuck, man?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was a shit show. It was alarming. It was worse. It was worse than last year in terms of just the amount of homeless on the street. It was really unfortunate to see. And I drove in, so it took me about 6 hours to get up there from Southern California. The first thing I see coming into the city, actually, George, like 100 meters from our apartment was like a drug deal in like broad daylight. I'm like, yep, we're here. Welcome.
Yeah. Saw a lot of
it wa-
handoffs in Yerba Buena.
Hey, how was
Yeah.
the drive up there? Like
Yeah.
I
It was
saw
really
your
bad.
photo, like from the road, and it was just straight fear and loathing, like the entire way there. It
Don't
looked
stop
like
here.
an awesome
This
drive.
is backcountry.
Yeah, so for about 4 hours. So coming up to LA, it's straight shot. You see the LA cityscape, which is pretty cool, and then you hit the 5, and it's just like flat
Yep.
for a good 4 hours. And then I took some route that I never took before, and it was really scenic, really beautiful. I unfortunately didn't stop for pictures. Actually, maybe I did on my other camera. I don't know. I can't remember at this point. Drive down, different story. Took me about like 9.5 hours. Had to stop in the middle and take a nap. It was hard. I was just really tired after the show. But overall,
I did not sleep more
love.
than 4 hours any night of RSA.
Yeah,
It was
well,
great.
you
It was
were
nuts.
You were raging. You were raging in a good way, right? Not going crazy.
Well, it was
but you
also
were
like there was like
really
early setup
out-
for things or something.
Yeah.
You don't see these people but once or twice a year, and you're like, okay, I'll stay out, but I gotta get
Yeah.
up at this time. And
Yeah.
Fuck that.
It's like that shady.
then I got home and slept 11
It's like
and a
that
half
shady
hours.
gray area between like Dead Mouse's set just ended, and then we got to wake up for the first session, like somewhere in that haze.
Yeah.
Nah, my sleep is. I value my
Yeah,
sleep too much. Nah, there's.
You know, Chase, you were smart to decline the first night's dinner. Yeah, I remember you telling me, "Well, I'm tired. I'm going to
Nah, I
bed."
pull the
I'm
old
like,
man
"This
card
dude."
now. I'm like, I'm going to sleep, man. You guys can
And
have
you
it.
did that your first night in?
I did that
Yeah.
every night because I don't give a shit. Like, I want to go to bed. Like, I'm sorry. I there's people.
Guys, I
got to
watch Matlock.
It was mostly
Done.
yeah. Every night was mostly me like attempting to walk up the stairs to our flat and crying a little bit to
It
the
was,
flatmates. I
to
mean,
be
George, I
fair, it
think.
was like infinite flight of stairs. So Danny and I and a
Yes.
couple others, we stayed in an Airbnb, which was much more affordable than $1,500 hotel rooms in downtown San Francisco, especially when you're on your own or working as a nonprofit. That's really hard to write off. But yeah, it was nice. It's off the beaten path, but damn, there were like hella exorcist stairs to get up to the actual
Oh, geez.
apartment. It was just like, and you had to like carry like all your luggage and stuff. It was fine, but you know, at the end of the day, it was a lot.
So, George,
Yeah,
you are saying there is
it
a
was.
slightly affordable way to actually attend.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
just comes with a workout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to be willing to work for it.
Yeah, towards the end, I was like, should I push my luggage down the flight?
Not a great idea.
You got wheels on it,
was-
just like ride
yeah.
it like
I mean,
a sled.
Yeah, if you ever get a
Yeah.
text or something from somebody who's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going to RSA," and they're texting you like a month out, you're like, "Okay, well, good luck because you'll spend a small
Yeah.
fortune unless somebody is paying."
Mhm.
And they don't have no idea. You know, those hotels are like $350 normally, and then they go up to $1,500-$1,700 that week. So
Or you could, live in someone's couch or living room as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's an option. Not a bad one sometimes, but lack of privacy. All right, let's go to one of the fun segments that I always do on the regular audience first shows. Are there any stories or examples you can share that deserve a spot on the audience first shit list?
So there wasn't necessarily value for audience first, but it was like a career kick in the nuts for me because I'm just minding my own business and somebody walks up and they go, "I hated your book." I was like, what the? I was like, wow.
Well, fuck you
That
very
was
much.
Were you
too.
yelling at the ocean earlier?
Yeah, right. They were just like, I really hated your book and I thought you should know that. And I was like, okay, I hate your face. I don't know what to say, but sure.
Yeah,
Like,
what do you say to that? What is the?
Don't read it.
This is just.
I was like,
Come
well,
on.
your money's already in the bank, sucker. So, but yeah, that was like out of left field for me, just minding my own business, moseying around, and somebody like pulls me aside, is like, "I hated your book." I'm going, well,
Did you get
just
any
like
Is this
context?
the new leadership one?
no, this was the sort of novel I wrote on artificial intelligence and whatever else, and they were like, it was very very predictable, and I was like, okay, I don't know
Set reality, maybe. It's not Terminator.
How many books have you written, motherfucker? Like, it's not that easy. So, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
it for me. It was out of just left field, like just moseying around and whatever, and then someone just takes the time out of their day to come up and tell you that
Just
they hate
there
something.
he is.
Also, I guess from the marketing standpoint, we are in a climate crisis. So marketing teams that pay trucks to drive around Moscone in circles with LED screens blaring case study testimonials or whatever
Oh
the fuck
no.
is just feels very irresponsible. Like at best irresponsible, and at worst it's just like why? Like
Yeah.
they're sitting there like idling. They're not electric vehicles. They're like box
They're
trucks.
diesels, like they're literally
Yeah,
spewing
it's like,
shit out
God.
the back of them.
That's actually one of the things that I
Please.
wanted to ask you guys, because from this side, I didn't see a lot of that. Like, yeah, like just doing my own OSINT. Like, there was pictures of every single thing on the floor, but like, I wondered who was going to be the ones to like buy out all the local signage and all the billboards and all the the truck, those little skinny trucks with the double LED panels and whatnot. Like, how much of that was actually done?
So there was
100%
a
of
lot.
it.
There were more trucks this year than there were last year. Last year was like 2 brands. This one I think I counted like 4 companies.
Yeah.
Then there is sort of programmatic ad buys on basically like they're sort of like bus stop signage, but they're sort of just sit on their own. I saw Drata there,
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
Vanta, saw a couple others, but that's just like you just buy the
Right.
block and it kind of rotates through, because where Danny and I were staying in the Castro, which is a clear 10 minutes from Moscone, there are no buyers there, but sometimes those ads would rotate
Weird.
through, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. For no one in this neighborhood's okay, whatever.
Well, you had huge billboards like driving
Yeah,
into
the
San Francisco.
the billboards
with
coming in from
Vanta
SFO are pretty huge too. Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
think the other
You got the
only
Cybertrucks?
Yes. Yeah, we had man, there's so much to not say about Cybertrucks. And then what else was there? There were some outside activations like flash mob nonsense, and I'm like, guys,
Cool.
stop
Okay.
it, please. Stop.
Okay.
Not
Filming
performing.
get
an
me
episode
started.
of Glee.
Don't get me
Chase
started.
had his
on-
own.
I was
on
going to say
fucking
there was some
flash
asshole
mobs.
running around
Wait,
in a
was there
Macho
seriously a
Man
flash
outfit
mob?
too.
How did I
so-
miss this?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't know if it was actually a flash mob, but
It was like
so
outdoor
this
performance
goes on
art.
the shit list. Yeah, it was outdoor performance art,
Gross.
or trauma experience, because
Outdoor
I think
performance art.
I think it was Palo didn't sponsor anything at.
Yeah, they got a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Symantec did that.
They had
in
some. They had
2020.
some ninjas dancing in the street, like 20 some ninjas in all black and like masks, dancing, like doing some ninja moves in the street. And I was just like, the fuck is this? Like, me as a Jew, an Israeli that sees ninjas like dancing in the street and see all these protests, I got really triggered by it. So that's a shit show, like a shit list moment for me. And I know other Israelis were triggered
Yeah,
by
that's
that too.
not cool.
It was
Also-
not fun to see, but like, how useful is that? I don't like, just from a marketing perspective, how useful or lack thereof is that?
Yeah, so I always think that when you have a decision that it seems like wildly out of reality, there's like one of two things going on. Either they have never asked anyone outside the marketing department, like, hey, peep this, and then like run down the idea, and somebody's like, I don't get it. Okay, cool. Back to the drawing board. So there's
Have
no
you ever
air
talked to anybody
in
at
the
Palo
room.
Alto's marketing? Because yeah,
I have not.
I would say that.
Or somebody junior is thinking like, I don't think we're going to get a return on this, but there's not a culture where you can raise your hand and be like, bad idea, y'all.
Seen that.
So
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's usually one of those things.
Yeah, having been an analyst at an analyst company sitting in on those briefings with that particular company, I would say you would be sitting there going like, what in the fuck is happening? And then the folks that do win the arguments, you're like, you're literally the stupidest person in the room. Like, why are you making the decisions? Like, I would not trust you to babysit my dead cat, but you're making massive marketing decisions. Like, this is bonkers. And then they wonder why our marketing's not great. It's because you fucking blow. Like, you suck.
Never mistake confidence for competence.
Exactly.
Danny, don't you have some sort of external party review system to make sure that people stop doing these ridiculous antics?
We got
I'm
the
making that up.
podcast. We just gotta send it to them. But people yell at me when I do that. They're like, "Fuck you!"
Whatever.
I'm like, "Okay, well,
That's
continue
what we're
as-
here
as
for.
you are."
I mean, hey, I still
well,
get
so
dead mouse
let-
hate mail.
Before we get to some positive elements here, Clark, sitting on the sidelines, anything kind of pique your interest to slam and break down and vent about?
And don't say my ass in spandex. 'cause
Well, that was number one. That was, and I'm glad that I
Damn,
got to see
cross it off the list.
video along with it. Like it was convincing is not even the word. It was quite the miraculous facsimile of the original source material, to the degree that like I was quite taken aback. One of the things that was most surprising, there are some like individual little idiosyncrasies that certain companies have that they do it stuff like this. But one of the things I noticed in the majority of the photos, I was really, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I was really surprised at how tired everybody looked from day to day. Like you could see, like the day one hype was real, and then it quickly went to like, oh, it's day 2.5. No, we've been here 45 minutes, and everybody just looks exhausted.
Yeah, it's like, it's day
no,
2. I'm just going to catch everything on demand, even though I paid for this full conference pass because I can't drag my ass to these sessions.
Right.
That's just me on a regular Tuesday. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
But as far as like vendor on the floor stuff, like what I could gather from some of the videos that I saw, both from vendors, from just like independent creators, all the photos I saw, I really wanted to pay attention to like the interactions that I was seeing, like not necessarily who's on camera presenting, but like I was always looking in the background at like who's talking to someone at the booth, what's the look on their face, and then I'm trying to look at their booth itself, like are they interested in this, and like if you, I'm a big people watcher at conferences, and I'm sure, I mean obviously we all are here on this call to a degree, but like I was really surprised that as much content as I consumed over RSA from this side, I never saw anybody that was like super just into it, engaged, like on either side, really. And
well, the floor is just overwhelming, right. And 10 minutes in there, you're just going to glaze over as a matter of self-defense.
Yeah. Stimulus response.
Just everybody putting up the bubble.
It's real. I was going to say, like, this year, it was way fuller. Like, the floor, it just felt hot and crowded. But it felt louder because everyone's sort of, like, shouting because either they're doing some giveaway or they've got a session coming up. You know, they build, like, the little theaters and the bigger booths, and they have... But it just felt like the volume was way up on all of them, because if you got stuck between two, it's just like on both sides. And what's interesting is that last year when Danny and I went around and looked at all the messaging and then we surveyed buyers, the buyers said, like, I actually do go to the floor and I go to have substantive conversations if I find something interesting. And we said in that report, like, it behooves you to build your booth in a way that, maybe you have a big splashy screen up front, but you got to have some space to have a conversation. When it's like the big open air plan, like Splunk had this huge theater, like rad LED, like actually not a lot of messaging, like looked awesome. But like, even if you were interested, I guess you had to book the meeting and go somewhere else, because there was nowhere in that space to actually have a conversation. I would say shout out to ReliaQuest. I mean, they had like a big area, but like behind it was kind of like a tunnel with a roof, so you could get in there and have a conversation that was insulated. But otherwise, it just felt it was real loud.
I didn't even bother to go see most of North. It was too much for me. I literally could not handle it. But granted, I also went on day 3 to the expo, and I was like zonked out by then. But it was way too much for me. It was very much cramped. You could cut the air with a knife.
Yeah, everything smelled like breath.
Congested in there.
Gross. Yes.
It was like I can smell 40,000 people's dinner as we're walking
breathing
through this place.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's nice to see that people are saying, okay, we're back to pre-COVID RSA. So that was an interesting insight for me, because last year was my first RSA. Let's kind of flip the negativity on its head. Did you see anything good or compelling that stood out, or any trends or technologies that you think are worth kind of, shouting out here?
Yeah. Let me jump on that one. So first, a certain company that raised $1 billion had one of the coolest booths ever, which, they just raised a shit ton of money. But Wiz, they get branding down. I thought it was really fun, interactive, so they did a great job. On the not raised $1 billion, I think it was Kiteworks. They brought in some like rescue puppies. They gotta deal with that. But like, that is a good draw. It's cheap and it's good for the local community. So I love things like that. But outside of that, like, there just was not a pure chaos component. Like, most booths had like good reps that were chatting. They were interrogating people. I went up to a bunch of places. They were all just really friendly. So I don't know, like the experience on the floor outside of the amount of PA systems that were just overlapping and making us all deaf. I'd say like if you can get past that, maybe with some earbuds or whatever, earplugs.
Yeah, that's what
It's
they should
pretty
be
good.
giving away at the booth. It's
Yeah,
like, I will take a
seriously.
demo if you will give me those AirPods so I don't have to listen to the rest of the show.
Exactly.
I saw lots more
yeah.
like non middle-aged white guys doing stuff, which was great. Like I kind of made it a point to count up as I walked around, and there was a lot more sessions with folks that didn't look like me, which was always encouraging.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot more,
and also in the speaking, not
Yeah,
just at the
exactly.
front line, shouting.
Yeah, so that was good, because that's always a question of, is it just, you know, a nonstop middle-aged white guy conference? And it was not. It was way better.
Absolutely. You can tell they engineered that too, because like, I don't know, was it 6 months ago? There was a conference that created fake AI women to be
it was a
their
crypto
presenters.
conference, which is 100%
I don't remember which one that was.
I'm about to
that
go
was a
yell
good
at the
test.
ocean. What?
Yeah, that was one of my.
I will say one of the best presentations that I went to was off the actual agenda. Synac put together like a women executive cybersecurity leader. One of the best panels I've been to. It's just very personal. I feel like it didn't have to be as engineered. They had a little bit more flexibility since it was offsite. So that is one of those other benefits, is RSA kind of comes back to full scale. More companies are able to do things outside of the realm and still bring them in. You know, you got to pay money to get those invites in there, but that was a full packed room.
And there was some interesting overlap like that. Like the female quotient had a panel in the Deloitte booth, because Deloitte has like a huge booth, but I don't know. It was kind of cool that they were able to use their space.
Yeah, and Beyond Identity sponsored a veterans event, so that was cool. We had a pretty good attendance for that. That was the first one that was done specifically for veterans. It was cool.
Yeah, I would say I'd say like most of the big brands felt like they got the message in terms of I don't know, booth strategy or whatever. But it's the expo that's like between North and South, where you get the smaller startups. And that's where I think you detect the difference in like, how am I going to do this intelligently? Or I'm super excited to be at RSA and like, let me get the giant hooded figure on the 10 by 12 and just like shout at people. Or I'm going to put so much print on. This is what guys, I feel so sorry for new startups. They get booth banner template, right? It's like an Adobe Illustrator file. And they're like, look how much space we have. We can afford the 10 by 12 this year. And they put all this copy on it. And they never remember that ain't no one can see below your waist, because all the furniture's fucking blocking the messaging. And I'm like, guys, just put a person in front of it and see, like, can anyone read that? I was like, I can't read half of whatever is on your thing because it's behind the table and you're standing in front of it. Like,
there was one booth, I think it was in South. No, actually, it was in between South and North in
the hall,
in that underground section. Literally, they put like full paragraphs and like 20 bullet points. I swear it was the like most.
They printed a white paper.
There's one booth. There's just like one booth. And I was like, oh my word, that's going to be a lot to unpack. But I just want to go back to some positives here and shout outs. I mean, shout out to you, George, and the team over at Mind Over Cyber. I think what was really great to see was the amount of offsite events and chats and those ancillary events that just were so diverse, and there was a lot of breadth and like different topics and different kinds of people there to connect with and learn from. You had your inaugural event over at RSA, the mindfulness workshop and breakfast, which was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So shout out to you and the team.
Didn't know how that was going to turn out, but really happy to see that it really took off.
Yeah.
That was that was also just anecdotally, there was a lot of conversation about people feeling worn down, worn out. Across the board, not even at just our event, just people kind of 1,000-yard stare. I think they were using RSA as a breakaway from work, which, legitimately it can be, but they've been through the ringer.
All right. I want to go into some insights from you, Clark, because you sat on the sidelines. You gave us a little bit of a taste of what it was like, but let's kind of drill down. What did it feel like to to sit here, see a bunch of us go over there. You said you experienced a little bit of FOMO, which is to be understood, but what can we learn from sitting on the sidelines? And will you also come next year is the question after seeing some of the stuff that you see.
I'll definitely be there next year. Yeah, 100%. And the FOMO is very, very real. It was long before. I mean, once we had our vacation plan, I was like, I miss RSA, but like, had an awesome time. Yes, it was amazing, but missing RSA is one of those that like, where are my friends? Like I told you guys, like I just buried myself in work, went on vacation, and then completely disassociated and just watched everybody have fun or be exhausted or or run around with their heads cut off, depending on which booth you're at. But being on this side, if you're looking, I guess, into the inside from the outside, it's kind of invigorating because that you're going to have another round of prep to really hone and just chisel your plan for the next one out of stone. Because this year was a big year. Like this conference season is going to be very telling, I think, for a lot of trends and a lot of things to come, not only in technologies, but also in the way that they are presented in terms of messaging, marketing, how they're being sold, what they're being sold as. Like, as much as I wanted to be there, and I'll definitely be at summer camp, but as much as I wanted to be at RSA, it really was good to just see like, okay, here's the calm before the storm. Let's see what everybody just comes out of the gates swinging with. And then you make your plan of attack based on that data for the next one. That's kind of that's how I staved off FOMO. It's like, we're making a plan.
Well, I made a plan going to RSA and it was smashed by just impromptu meetings. So like, you can make all the plans you want.
Yeah, as I'm sure Chase would tell you, right? No plan escapes first contact with the enemy. So,
all right, next year we're going. All of us are going.
Yeah, it's also like
maybe
it's. I was sitting incidentally across from Andres on the plane. He and I had never met in person before, but we sort of mutually recognized each other in this hazy way on the airplane. And he was like, RSA, he's like, I've been going, like you, Chase, since it was like a couple of people in a hotel room, right? And he's like, it's what you make it. Like, if you want to do all the parties and you get wasted, yeah, I guess you can pay for that and you'll feel it. But if you go and you're going there to meet people, like, again, I'd never met Andres in person and got a chance to touch base with a couple of others. I only see them in San Francisco or Las Vegas. So, that's just a chance to like keep those relationships alive, because there's only but so much LinkedIn's going to do for you.
Yeah, and I did get to run into some of the old hats, and they're still dickheads. Most of them are still just absolute assholes. So, like,
so you got to corroborate.
I kept thinking maybe over time that they've gotten to be a little more, chatty and hanging out, and they're willing to have conversations. I don't consider myself to be like a super warm, inviting individual or whatever, but like the guys the old hats, like they're still dickheads. They're just becoming older, grayer, shorter dickheads. So yeah. I even told one of them to his face, I'm like, you're still an asshole. And he was like, and then he walked off. I was like, that's exactly the point.
And he was like, I hated your book.
What do, looking at this year and also previous years, what do you think you'll do differently next year?
Good question.
That's a good question.
I want to know why Elliot says maybe. Like, he said maybe. What's the maybe?
Well, I mean, I went on the company's dime technically this year, so I couldn't really do my thing. I probably got 30 minutes in safely. So I think if I took some vacation time and went on my own accord, I think it's just different. But we have conflicting uses of time.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to poke fun, but like, shout out to those marketing teams, because they land there on Sunday and they are working hard. And the people who build the booth get in there like Sunday night, and everyone else is out partying. So it is hard. It's hard on those teams.
Yeah, you also get folks coming in for B-side, so they're there Friday. I mean, they're
Yeah.
there for a full 7 days on their feet. So I just remember standing, speaking to a practitioner. I was just crying on the inside because I was in so much pain just standing. Like I got to lose weight. One,
it's like
two, I got to
when
get
you're
in shape.
looking at when you're looking at the booth spec, y'all. Pro tip: pay for the extra padding. Your teams will thank you for
Yeah.
it because you're just standing on
Oh yeah,
concrete
100%.
for hours. Yeah, I was also going to say earlier that I
100%.
thought I saw more technologies that were, or well, both messaging and technologies, less on like the detection side and more on process, like lots of automation, save time, I guess faster remediation, less like detect all the things. I think people have gotten the memo that like security professionals don't actually need to know more things. They
Threats are
deal with-
bad, malware bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But they can't deal with the volume as it is. So why are we going to handle more duplicative alerts to that team?
Yeah, I mean, this is good event overall. It's nice to see run into the people that you want to see, and absolutely, George, like it's what you make it. Yeah, I make it a point to make one pass through the floor. Other than that, I'm just off in hotels and meetings and other stuff and whatever else. Like I just don't go down to the floor if I don't have to. That's like my plan every year is to try and get less time on the floor and more time in conversations.
Yeah, we should debate
Oh,
that. You know, my co-host is now of the opinion, and I think he said it on a podcast that we did on the floor. He's like, as a buyer, this place is useless. Like I can't sort anything here. I can't see anything here. I'm going to come with my list in hand because as a practitioner, it's not like I want to buy whatever. He has a roadmap. He has clear priorities. He's got the budget. He's got the clearance. So he doesn't need to peruse. He needs to go narrow on those things. And there is a startup strategy where you don't pay for the floor and you just structure your time around
Infiltrate.
having substantive meetings with. Yeah. So, I mean, well, I don't know. We should talk about that. I mean, there were some big companies there that had very small booths, which was interesting. Say Hunters did a really good job with that. Like the size of the company they are, they could have a bigger booth, and they had a pretty reasonable sized one there in that middle place. But they had a really strong ground game in terms of like one, why you should go meet with them, but two, they were involved in a lot of other things. You know, they were doing stuff elsewhere. I think that's the only way. I would rather go broad because you got 40,000 people in town and they're all over the place than put all of your eggs in this one basket, you know, where you're on the floor. They're just not going to be able to outspend
100%.
a Splunk or CrowdStrike. Like, I mean, good luck. Like, why are you competing on their terms?
I was actually going to ask you guys something that I didn't like see a lot of coverage of, which was the early stage stuff. Was there anybody there just like nailing it like out of nowhere?
Yes. Well, so I think Chase was there the last day, and we might have missed each other by a few minutes. But the great thing about early stage, which is on the second floor of the South Conference Hall, is all of the booths are the same. It's not a booth. It's really just like a table and a sign, and it's uniform. It's all white, and you just get your logo, which means you have to stand out on your value proposition. You cannot. There's no bells and whistles. There's no magic. You just have to be awesome like on your own. And I don't know what it was like when I don't know what it was like when you went up there, Chase, but when I went up there it was very busy, which I was excited to see.
It was really stacked.
It was very busy. It was packed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely positioned where if you're seated with an incumbent technology that's been around for a while and you want to hunt for the new fresh thing, that's definitely where people were heading towards. At least that's in the conversations I was having. Sandbox is a little bit different because RSA have crafted it around like their AI conversation that was generally the underlying theme. So that's who won this year. I can't remember.
Reality Defender.
Yeah. So all of them had some sort of, well, not all, most of them had some sort of AI thing tied to it. But yeah, the startup area was definitely more for like the fresh new hotness.
Well, it's also kind of cool that some of them, like Lacara, was there, but they also were in the AI Village. And if anyone is not aware, like the villages, which is out of the DEF CON community, are like the local hands-on stuff, right? So there's the AppSec Village, Dark Arts Village, and they're out there like I mean, if you want to like nerd out on how to like break into the latest hardware or how to, do some very sophisticated prompt injection, like you can do that. And it's like right next to the early stage. So you can go hear them and then go do it. That's a really cool experience, but that tends to be more students than it is professionals.
Yeah, lots of college kids in there.
All right, we're heading towards the end of the session. Before we sign off, any imparting thoughts or advice as we plan and get geared up for the next big event, summer camp? My assumption for some of you.
I do want to jump on some of that content. So I obviously did not get to go to a significant amount of those presentations, but of the ones that talked through AI, the 130, 40 of them, a lot of them were primarily focused not on, so there are like the 3 flavors, which is AI threats, applying AI to these security solutions and deploying whatever, or bringing in AI so your company can do it. But the overarching theme has really been like, how the hell do I deal with the amount of regulation that's coming? So there are now 40 bills in the states that are positioned around that. How the hell are you going to overlap with all that? Obviously, it depends on what states you're doing. EU AI Act is rolled out, and that's going to have sweeping changes to everyone else. So I will say, at least they stepped up the conversation where it's not just the technology piece. It's not just like threat actors creating fish with AI. So they're still trying to like wrap around what the most near term challenge is going to be, which is just like the wave of laws and regulations that will probably narrow and build guardrails around it, which we really just don't have right now.
Well, luckily, electrons know where borders are, so they stop at the border, and GDPR has been the sea change that everyone hoped it would be.
Yeah. That's right. It's actually they have like the electrons have little passports.
Yeah, they just go, oh shit, I hit Virginia, burp, and then they turn around and come back.
Yeah.
Makes me like
I would say I'm going to try not to get in too much trouble here. I went to a couple of sessions. This is the first year I've ever had a full conference pass. And most of them were not great. And, you read through the prospectus and you're like, oh, that is a super cool topic. Oh, wait, it's 2 EVPs talking from this one company.
Shocker.
What are they going to talk about? Wonder. That is different for people who are listening from like Black Hat, where you have to submit CFPs. There is a little bit of sponsorship there, but it doesn't feel as heavy. There were even some great panels, like with really amazing people that I wanted to see. And like there was like really softball nonsense questions. So what I would say to answer your question, Danny, is if you think about what we said about going broad and trying to get a lot of exposure, like I would say look for opportunities to like curate some badass conversations that like people can't get at RSA. Like what if like Chase, like what you did with Beyond Identity, this is a vendor, but like it's creating a conversation around something that matters to a portion of the community. A not insignificant number of practitioners are veterans, right? So I don't know, that connect on values and then try to like connect the content that's like really compelling outside of what you can find on the floor. If you're just trying to like duplicate what RSA is doing, it's just like a losing proposition. You really got to find a way to stand out. You can't compete with CrowdStrike because you ain't got that kind of money, and you shouldn't compete with the keynotes because, I mean, why? People are just going to go to the keynotes. So
yeah, a recorded video does not equal a fucking demo. That's like, I'm just going to say that.
Yes.
I said so many people where I walked around, I was like, can I demo your product or check it out or play with it? Oh, well, here's the video. Like that's not what I mean. I want to like see how this thing does.
What a lost opportunity.
Yeah. It's like, I want to see how this thing does what it does. Oh, well, we can sign you up for that. Or here's a video like that. You're not actually making things any better. Like I'm at this conference to learn. I can look at that shit on YouTube.
What if they had kiosks with like
they were all videos?
They were hands-on keys and
they were all videos. Or if like the only few that I got close, they would like make sure that, I don't know, Ricky, the dude that created it, was the one typing the commands. Like that ain't a demo. That's you gaming the system. I don't want to go to a car dealership and they go, you want to take this car for a drive? Well, only Ricky can drive it because he's the one that built the transmission. Like, just give me the keys, man.
Yeah, that's some Wizard of Oz. Like, don't mind the dude behind the curtain over there. Like, look over here.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year for sure. And Black Hat. So I'll be at Black Hat. I know, George, you're likely going, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
You'll be there? Yep.
Same
Chase,
juice.
you going to be there?
I don't think so, because so far no vendor's been willing to pay for me to go. So maybe the Macho Man thing finally killed my career like I thought it would.
I don't think so. It was pretty awesome. Well, 3 months.
Yeah,
is a long
people
time.
looked really
3 months, a little
enthused.
bit less
People
than
looked
3 months.
really excited to shake hands with Macho Man.
Yeah.
I mean, they did, outside of the amount of edits I had to do for someone adjusting areas in spandex, which I will never unsee.
It's hard to like keep things where they're supposed to be, man. You get hot, like one side, it's uncomfortable.
And that
And you
was
gotta
a hot
deal with
day
escalators
too. You got
and
out in the hottest
stairs.
day
Get
there.
a little swampy in there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the worst part is one part's latex, one part's not. So only half of you get swampy. It's really bad.
Well, I mean,
God. The worst.
we're going to Vegas, right? So like you can just straight up be an impersonator. Like you've got a gig, you've got your funding right
Side
there.
Side hustle. Yeah.
You know,
You could officiate a
could
wedding.
charge, money just for the photos on the strip.
Yeah, just stand out there with Elmo and
Oh my gosh. Yeah, or the Rockette girls and then Chase. Right.
I'm
I
known
sent
for my high kicks.
I sent some sort of like very snarky activation. Like we could do a shotgun wedding between Zero Trust and Sassy. I don't know. Insert like dumbass acronym here and just take it down.
Oh, it's all going downhill so fast.
well,
Speaking of acronyms, George and I have something special brewing right now. So as George mentioned, we did scan the whole expo. This time we got 100% of the booths.
Thank you,
photographed.
volunteers.
So now thank you to all the volunteers who took time out of their busy schedules to snap those photos for us. We're in analysis mode right now, and we're circulating a survey to buyers to see what their preferences are with regards to buzzwords, acronyms, messaging, events, RSA, and the like. We'll be putting out that report at the end of the month, so we're hard at work. Look out for that report. We'll drop a link to pre-register to get your hands on that whenever it drops. And we'll also add a link to the survey if you are a practitioner. So if you haven't taken the survey, please, by all means, do. We have a hefty goal there, but I think we can make it. Those are my parting thoughts. I think this was an awesome event. It was really good to see all of you. Some in passing. Elliot stopped me in the street, which was totally a surprise, and I loved it. Chase, loved working with you on getting you set up with the equipment. Hopefully those podcast episodes were awesome. And then George, super proud of you, what you did with Mind Over Cyber, and it was good to see George A there too. Clark, we got to see you there next time, man.
I totally agree, and you will for sure.
This has been another episode of Audience First. Thanks for joining. We are out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.